All right, let's get one thing straight. This isn't your typical book review. Today, we're not just talking about a book, we're descending into an atmosphere. We're about to take a deep dive into the truly unsettling world of L.T.C. Rolt's Sleep No More. Think of this as more of an experience, so you might want to prepare yourself.
We're going to start with this line, pulled right from the pages. It didn't seem right that a mortal face should take that shape. Yeah, no context, no explanation just yet. I just want you to sit with that for a second. Let that feeling of just profound wrongness sink in. It's the perfect taste of the kind of quiet, creeping horror that we're dealing with here.
So you've got to be asking, who comes up with something like that? Well, to really get the horror, you have to get the guy who wrote it. And let me tell you, L.T.C. Rolt was not your average horror writer, not by a long shot.
Okay, so get this. L.T.C. Rolt was a historian of science and technology, a man of facts. We're talking canals, railways, engines, a world of engineering and hard, concrete reality. And that's what's so wild, right? It's that background that makes his pivot to the supernatural so incredibly chilling. He uses that technical precision to describe things that are just impossible, but he does it so clearly that you start to believe they're real. His horror is grounded in stuff you can actually touch.
And you know, Rout wasn't interested in that romantic postcard vision of England. Those quaint little villages, not his thing. In fact, he kind of hated that whole old-worldy fantasy that just pretends the Industrial Revolution never happened. No, he found his stories in the real stuff. The grit, the grime, the forgotten machinery of industrial Britain. We're talking canals, foundries, abandoned mines. That was his playground.
Okay, so let's actually step into his world, shall we? We're about to explore these landscapes that are literally scarred by industry. Places where the past isn't just history. It feels like it's still there, like a lingering, active presence. Take the Snail Beach lead mines, for example. Just picture this place. It's a wild, desolate hill, completely covered in these great gray heaps of mining waste, slag, that kind of glimmer in the light like ghosts. It's the kind of landscape that feels haunted before anything even happens, you know? Even in the middle of the day.
Then you have the total opposite. Not cold, empty decay, but fire. The Holly Bank Foundry. I mean, it's described as a real Dante's Inferno, a place where you can practically feel the heat blasting from the furnace and smell the sweat. It's not a ghost story setting in the traditional sense. It's this vision of hell on earth, full of power and danger, and just raw industrial energy. And then you've got this, the Bosworth Tunnel. Think about the pure claustrophobia of a decaying canal tunnel. It's this narrow, man-made cave of crumbling brick, as cold and dark as a tomb, literally breathing out this foul-smelling mist. It's completely cut off from the world, and just the perfect place for something terrible to be waiting.
Okay, so the stage is set. We're in these grim, very real places. Now, it's time to listen, to tune into the whispers that come out of the dark. This is where we get to the absolute heart of Rout's dread, and there's no better way to understand it than through his own words.
Here's our first one. A character says something sounded a bit crazed, about the darkness being angry. Just wow. Let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about being scared of what's in the dark. This is the idea that the darkness itself is alive. It's a thinking thing, and it's angry. And that simple little phrase completely transforms an absence of light into a conscious, predatory force. See, the fear isn't about some monster hiding in the shadows anymore. The fear is of the shadows themselves. That taps into something so primal in all of us, doesn't it? The empty space isn't empty. It's hunting you.
But it's not just the places that are scary. It's what's in them. Now brace yourself for this description of an apparition. Quote, "A face, if face it could be called, that was innocent of any feature, a blank cranium of flesh." Think about that. Not a monster face with fangs and claws, just nothing. A smooth, blank sheet of flesh where a face is supposed to be.
See, the horror there is all about the violation of what we expect to see. A scary monster face? Okay, we can process that. But a complete lack of a face? That is so much more disturbing. Our brains are literally hardwired to recognize faces. It's how we connect. So when you see something that should have a face but doesn't, it triggers this deep biological revulsion. It's the uncanny valley cranked up to 11.
Then there's this moment from Bosworth Summit Pound. Picture it. Dark water. Dead of night. Something rose out of the water. Something monstrous that the reason most vehemently questioned. The horror here is that you can't even describe it. Your rational mind is screaming, no, that's not possible, that can't exist. It kind of looks human, but it's just fundamentally wrong in every way.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of folk horror. It's this idea of ancient, nameless things just emerging from the landscape. Things that our modern, scientific minds have no category for. The real terror is that feeling of your own sanity starting to crack, because what you're seeing simply shouldn't be real.
Ralt's horror isn't just about what you see, though. It's about what you hear. Just try to imagine this sound. A fainter, sibilant kind of noise, as if someone who had lost their voice was trying to shout. It's not a loud scream, it's the sound of someone desperately trying to scream, but they can't. Just that hissing, straining sound.
That is just a masterclass in psychological horror. Because the truly terrifying part isn't the noise itself, it's the struggle. It's the sound of voiceless agony, a desperate, failed attempt to warn you, to express a terror that's literally beyond words. It makes you, the listener, feel completely helpless.
Whew. Okay. We've walked through these haunted industrial landscapes. We've listened to the whispers from the dark. So now that we're sort of emerging back into the light, what's the final verdict? What do we take away from this whole experience?
So here's the main takeaway. Rotolt's unique brand of horror comes from twisting the mundane. He takes the industrial world, machines, factories, canals, and uses them as a doorway for these ancient, terrifying forces. This is definitely not for you if you're looking for jump scares. This is for readers who really love that quiet, creeping dread that gets under your skin. And the feedback is spot on. Reviewers praise him as an engineer by profession, but a humanist and almost a poet by temperament. That combination is just deadly effective.
So, for its sheer power in creating a chilling, truly unforgettable atmosphere, one that seriously stays with you long after you put the book down, this collection earns a solid 9 out of 10. It's an absolute masterclass in quiet terror.
So, if this little descent into darkness has you hungry for more, if you want more of that atmospheric dread, I've got a couple of other recommendations you should definitely check out.
First up, if you want more stories where the everyday world gets peeled back to show something awful underneath, you have to read M.R. James's Ghost Stories of an Antiquary. It's a classic for a reason. And for a dose of gothic dread that is just dripping with atmosphere, Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla is absolutely essential reading.
Hey, if you enjoyed going down this dark path with me, make sure you follow and subscribe for more. And I'll just leave you with one final thought. Now that you've heard these whispers, the next time you find yourself in the quiet and the dark, are you really sure you're alone?